should know is now you could take time to heal. And that doesn't guarantee you that the next relationship will be lovely. Oh, great. So you could take, so the healing is for you, but understand that it's not like a ticket or a guaranteed, it doesn't guarantee basically that you would find the right person will be the right person. It might still take you some trials. Hi everyone, my name is Evelyn, and welcome to another episode of Decoding Dating. I'm a matchmaker, and I'm also into single event, and I'm very excited to be here with.
Adam Melnick. I'm a licensed coach with the International Coaching Federation with over a decade of experience in mental illness and addictions. So, Evelyn, what are we going to be talking about?
Yeah, it's actually something very interesting. I believe we've all gone through this at one point in our life, and it's how to get over a breakup and how to find love again. And yeah, I'm sure we can all relate to this. So I just want to throw this question to you, Adam. So when you go through breakup, how do you kind of cope? How do you feel?
It's awful. Oh my God. I hate it with a passion. When I think about like my breakups, I think about all the coffee shops I've been at because it typically tends to be in neutral territory for me. If
Mm,
I kind of get the feeling it's coming, and so I'll instinctively try to position it in a neutral territory. It's not going to be at my place. It's not going to be at their place. It's going to be at a coffee shop where we can kind of just exchange things and say our goodbyes.
mm,
But when it comes to breakups, they're always messy. They always hurt. And it's not even that they hurt within the moment. Sometimes the hurt can linger for months,
mm.
sometimes up to a year, maybe longer. It kind of depends on what you're going through, how deep the relationship was, and what was going on in that relationship.
Yeah, I do agree with you. I actually like the fact that you say you would go to a coffee place and talk about it in a neutral place. I think that's interesting. For me, I feel like it's just all feelings. I feel, you're sad because the breakup is more like a loss. You lost something routine, and you grieve, and then you still feel that sadness deep down because at least you have some type of hope for the relationship. You saw it going somewhere, but it's unfortunate that sometimes things don't always work out the way you planned it. So there's that sadness. Sometimes you are angry. So I'm angry because sometimes you blame yourself and you ask yourself questions like, why do I keep repeating the same circle? Why do I keep attracting this person? And you can be angry at yourself even for that. And sometimes you're just hopeful. I'm like, okay, this has happened now. I can have given myself space. So open the door for better person or better experiences in my life. And like you said, sometimes it could last. It could take, I won't, it can never take days, only if you don't love the person. It takes weeks, it takes months, sometimes it takes years. Um, it just depends on how deep the connection and love is with this person. So it's sad. It's sad. It's sad.
Absolutely, it's sad. And when you talk about these feelings that you're going through, it makes total sense because it is the grieving process.
Mm,
I remember working in palliative care and learning about the 7 stages of grief. And there's like anger, there's denial, there's bargaining, there's acceptance. And people can move through these stages at any pace. They don't have to go in order. You can go from anger to denial, back to anger. You can repeat these stages as many times as you want because it's the grieving process.
mm,
And it's not only a grieving a loss, but it could be a grief of what could have been.
mm,
I remember working with one girl and she got out of an abusive relationship. It was very abusive. And she went through the grieving process for months. And I remember talking to her about it. I said, "This man was so abusive to you. Why are you grieving?" And she said, "I'm grieving the life that could have been,
mm,
that is no more, even though I understand that life could never have existed."
mm.
I was like, that's deep.
That's deep. Yeah, that's deep because abusive or not, you still grieve that relationship because you were not open for it to be abusive in the first place. So, what I find interesting is, like you said something like, you like to always go to like a neutral place, especially when you see you see it coming you see it coming. Do you think breakup should always do you think breakup should always get to that point where you guys have to go to a place to break up, or do you think that you can just ghost each other, or where how the question is how what is the right way to break up first, especially when you know that it's not working, and you know that you're losing yourself in that relationship.
In my opinion, when it comes to a serious relationship, you don't ghost them. That's a sign of immaturity. Full
Mm,
stop. What I typically always advocate is to go to a neutral place because one, you don't ever want to associate, for example, your place for breakups and
mm,
sadness. For example, I once had somebody like, yeah, I've broken up with every boyfriend I ever met on this one couch. I can't sit on this couch anymore, so I had to sell it. And so it doesn't teach your brain to associate your place or their place with the breakup. And then on top of that, if it's in a public setting, it's there's less it's less likely that things are going to go wrong. For example, I've heard of stories of individuals getting broken up with at somebody's house, and it's like, well, then I couldn't leave, and it got really messy, and da 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 da. And it's like, okay, maybe this should have been done at a neutral third party, just like a neutral place. But
mm,
when it comes to a breakup, it's important to be clear. It's important to be clear with the other person what's happening. And or if they're breaking up with you, they should be clear about what's happening, what's not working. It's like, sorry, this just doesn't work for me. Be very clear and provide that almost closure in a way to say, you know what, we are done, we are finished. This is our last meeting together. To one, help both parties move on, but also for both parties to understand that this is over. As opposed to if you drop off the face of the earth, the other person's like, what happened? Did they get murdered? What's did somebody kidnap them? And there's always going to be that question of like
yeah, I
what
do.
what?
Yeah, I do. I do. I agree with not having to associate your house with the place that breakup happens. And I've seen situations where people are in abusive relationship, or they're in a relationship where they know there's no alignment, or it's not going anywhere, and then they say, "Oh, I'm going to go see him, and I'm going to tell him or break up." And by the time they get there, something happens, and the breakup does not happen. They keep going in that circle. And I think that's why I would agree that one, you go to a neutral place, and two, as part of because you've actually had a relationship with this person, it's actually mature for you to actually sit down, talk about it, get that closure, and move on. That's how mature people would handle it. And that takes me to this interesting um question: how can you get over someone?
How do we well, when you look at getting over somebody, the first thing to do is you have to be quite cruel and cold, and you
Hmm.
have to cut them out of your life like, completely. And a lot of people don't want to do it these days because they think, oh, well, we can still be friends. It's like, no, you can't. Not at this stage. Maybe a few years down the road, we can be friends. But right now, if I'm the one that broke up with you, every time I see you, I'm going to feel the guilt around this. And then every time they see me, they're going to say, what if we could have gotten back together? There's
Mm,
always going to be that hope. So,
yeah.
like snipping them completely out, you close the door, and then you're going to give that room for both parties to kind of move on. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think I agree. I totally agree. And one thing I would like to add is sometimes, like I said, you cut off because you have to watch out for yourself. Because you don't just want to be in one. You also want to heal, and keep remembering them would make it hard to move forward and heal. So yeah, I would say stop the bond, just cut it off, and just move on. And anything that reminds you of them, remove it from your house or whatever. Just try to, I know some people had gift from their boyfriend or whatever, if that gift reminds you constantly of this person, maybe gift it out or donate it or something, just to, you know, just to forget them quicker, and start healing. So you don't keep dwelling in the same thing. And before you know it, if you keep dwelling, you'll be craving that relationship again and possibly want to go back. And there is no one way to get over someone. But it's different for different people. And one is just, sometimes just take a deep breath and take it one day at a time.
Well, exactly. And there's no timeline. I always hate it when people are like, well, how long should I grieve? It's like, as long as you need. Some
Mm-hmm.
people move on rather quickly from a relationship. Some people take a long time. I knew one person that grieved the loss of their partner for a few years before they were even ready to think about getting back into the dating pool. I know other people that grieve their partner usually over the course of a few days, but between you and me, there were other things going on there that helped them move on so fast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Typically, I see it takes a few months, and you have to be gentle with yourself. You have to be very kind. It's not the time to be like, oh, I'm a failure. I'm
Yeah.
garbage. Why can't I move on? It's like, no, you are hurting right now. This is okay.
And I think a lot of regret comes with it, because I know people who have gone through breakups, and even if they've actually gotten over the person, there's just that constant regret that, oh God, why do I have to even attract this person in the first place? Why was I so stupid? And no, they say a lot of ash words sometimes, like, what about me attracted this? But why did I even see this person fit enough to even date? So that constant regret for even so, and that might take a while. So that takes even longer, because somehow something may remind you of that person or your decisions, and then you say, there are other ways. Some people would always just remember that, oh my God, I'm much better now. Look at what I'd tolerated, right? So, and I think at that moment is best, because now you have someone in your life, the person is no longer in your life, so it's the opportunity for you to actually just focus on yourself. And if you have to journal, go for works, connect with your friends, those also help to help you heal faster. Just give yourself more grace and just work and focus on yourself. That also helps.
Well, and I'm going to add on to that because you talk about remembering and kind of remembering what was. And I've learned memory is a very weird thing. So every single time you remember a memory, it changes. Like it just changes slightly. And every single time you keep remembering that same moment, it continuously changes to the point it's questionable if you're even remembering the event or the fantasy of the event, which is something to be aware of when you're going through a breakup. If you're constantly thinking about this person, are you thinking about them, or are you thinking about the pretend fantasy version of it? Because
Mm,
events get changed in memory. Things that are said get changed. This is how
mm,
memory works.
mm. Yeah, I'm talking about remembering. Now, one question that I have, and I hear a lot of people ask it a lot, is how can I actually stop replaying the past in my head? How can this just stop? What do you think? What do you think about that?
Pushing it away is not going to help. I'm
Mm,
going to be straight up. The more you try to push away the pain, the worse it's going to get, which is why you should learn to accept it. You are thinking about these things. Why are you thinking about them? What's going on that is causing you to think about them? Like, dwell on it, but ultimately, there is that just letting go and letting it just drift away eventually. And sometimes to work through those thoughts and feelings, it's important to have a confidant, someone you can talk to. I know for myself, when I was going through my last breakup, I talked to two people. I talked to my mom and I talked to my sister incessantly about it,
mhm,
just to help me process what was going on. So then I could move on.
mm.
How do you normally move on?
Yeah, for me, like I have friends. Like I have a friend that I talk to, and my mom, she would always encourage, and she would always, I think, once she would always say, what, focus on yourself now. Try to focus on a particular goal, and and just push forward with it. That helps because I'm shifting my focus, but also I on my own when I'm quiet, when on my own quiet time, yes, those feelings comes because they mean something to you. And what someone told me was sometimes when you remember them, name it and just and think it, because sometimes it's your mind also replaying it to protect you, as well. Because sometimes when you remember why you left and why you shouldn't, you know, go into something like that anymore. And it's like, you'd be like, okay, thank God I actually left that, and name it, give it, make it not a bad thing when it comes, when you remember it, but give it a name, or just a, it could be a thank you or something that reminds you, not in a negative light, but more like, okay, I'm grateful, I'm thankful that, this happened, I get out of it, now I'm doing better, I'm doing much better, I'm healing, I'm growing, all that type of thing. And what I've seen a lot is a lot of people, when it comes to when they break up with somebody, they have this anger and bitterness. And I would see a lot of people have hate towards maybe men or hate towards women because they had this breakup, and they refuse to look inward and ask themselves how did they contribute as well to the breakup. What do you think about that?
That is a big question. And it is a question that you should be asking, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what they did. They were only ever 50% of the problem. You were the other 50%. And it's always funny. I was talking with a woman, and she met a gentleman who was a psychopath. And she's like, he was a psychopath. He treated me like crap. Da 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 da. I was like, yes. However, you hold some responsibility in this relationship. And she would loathe to admit it, but she let him do what he needed to do to abuse her. Like,
Mm,
she overlooked things intentionally. She let things ride. She did not set boundaries when she should have. And
mm,
it was a learning experience for her, because she realized, oh, I need to do these things in the next relationship. And to be able to have that critical eye, that analysis, to be able to stop and think logically, okay, what was I doing that contributed to this? Because
mm,
again, it's so easy to say that the other person, that's usually a sign that somebody's not through the healing process, is when they're complaining about the other person incessantly, and they can't take a step back and be like, yes, they were bad. However, what was I doing? How did I contribute to this?
I think I like the way you said it in terms of sometimes people would say things like, oh, I was a kind person. I loved them. I did that. But he treated me like this. He cheated on me so many times and all that. But like you said, sometimes the question is, how did you allow those things to also happen? Like you accepted those things. Like if the first time he cheated on you, you could have left, you could have, maybe consider therapy or whatever, counseling, but you forgave him and he kept repeating, or maybe it was abusive, or maybe it was aggressive, whatever. Because sometimes it's not you actually doing something to the other person, but it's you allowing them to do those things to you without you taking yourself out of it. But maybe, and it's sometimes it's based on influence, like environment. You grew up in a home where you saw those things growing up, and you it's really hard to even see that as you got used to that, and then you find a partner is doing the same thing to you. You tend to see how your father or your mom actually persevered and keep praying or pushing through, and you felt like, okay, you could do the same thing, maybe this time it's going to work for you. And it takes grace, it takes strength to actually get out of it. And that's why I don't blame people sometimes when it comes to, I see some people struggle to leave abusive relationships and stuff. And I don't tend to blame people for that, because I see that, sometimes upbringing and experiences makes it difficult for some people to get out of those kind of things. But eventually they tend to have, that strength. Unfortunately, some people lose their lives as a result of that. And I've seen situations where a girl, like back, let's say back home, for example, where she would tell the parent, this man is not good for me, he's abusive, whatever. But sometimes they have is a cultural thing where they say, you can't leave your partner, you can't leave your husband, and sometimes people die in it. Some people they like the fact, they like the idea of marriage, and they just wanna stick to to it, and they lose their lives in as well. So I give people respect that people that are able to get out of situations like this even when it was so hard, right? But it's important to be accountable and look inwardly, like you said.
Well, and I love what you're saying because you have to be kind with yourself.
Mm,
I remember being in a relationship where I allowed my partner to walk on me.
mm-hmm,
And I remember being out of it and just being so angry. Like, how could I have let that happen? I should have stood up for myself. I really should have taken her to task. But the reality was, I was in a relationship and I didn't see what was going on until it was much later on in the relationship. Like, I didn't realize what was going on and that I was being walked on till the end of the relationship. And it's hard to see what's going on when you're in it. And you
yeah.
just accept, like, this is what happens. You didn't know. You did the best that you could do with what you were given.
Mm,
And now it's over. And now it's all about healing and moving on and just accept you did your best. Like, you really did your best.
yeah, I like that. Because like you say when you're there, you don't even know until you're out of it, because you're still seeing hope, right? You're still thinking that it's gonna work out, but unfortunately, it doesn't. The quick question, one question I find interesting, because this is something that a lot of people struggle with. It's when you're done with a breakup, it could be a long-term relationship or whatever. How soon should you move on, like to the next relationship? I know some people would go for healing, but like I want to know.
Well, when it comes to it, I always advocate for self healing first. Like,
Mm,
take as much time as you need just heal from the relationship because it is a wound. It is a internal wound that you have to deal with. And a lot of the times what I see is when people are jumping from partner to partner to partner, one of two things has happened. Either one, they were still in the relationship, they knew it was ending, and then they were moving through the grieving process with their partner at the time, which one is unbelievably cruel to the other person. And so they already processed the grief and they were hunting for another party while they were still in the relationship. Or two, what I see is this is their coping mechanism to deal with grief. They can't they can't handle these feelings, they can't handle what's going on, and so they want a partner ASAP to just fill that void so they don't have to feel the grieving process. The issue with that, however, is when you jump to that party, one, they now have to deal with all that baggage. Like, the grieving process didn't go away.
mm.
So now they're dealing with it. And then two, sometimes it can just postpone the grieving process because I can almost guarantee you this relationship's not going to work. And when it finally ends, now you have two relationships to grieve.
Yeah, I know, it's so sad. So yeah, and the interesting thing here is this. Yes, I agree with you that take the time to heal, because it's not easy. You've lost a beautiful a relationship that was once beautiful for you, and now it's important to take the time to actually grieve before moving to the next relationship, so you don't have to repeat the same pattern, or you know give the other person trauma based on your past experience. Yeah, I do agree. I was actually having something in my mind to say, but kind of left. So yeah, so there is no timing. So I would say healing doesn't have a timing. And now the interesting thing is, people should know is, now you could take time to heal, and that doesn't guarantee you that the next relationship will be lovely. Oh, great. So the healing is for you, but understand that it's not like a ticket or a guaranteed. It doesn't guarantee basically that you would find the right person will be the right person. It might still take you some trials, but at least you've taken the time to heal, and maybe you can process breakup more easier, and you can move on better based on your experience.
Well, I love what you say because it does not guarantee that you're going to be moving up in the world. I
Mhm.
think oftentimes people see relationships like a step ladder where it's like, this person was crap, so I'm going to move up to a next better option. But that's not how people work. And I remember working with a girl, and she had been in many relationships. All of them ended in failure and disaster. And she looked back on her life and she said, I met a man when I was 20, and I think he was the one. He was the most amazing man I've ever met, and I've never met another person better than that. However, he moved on, and now I'm stuck just living my life, moving from relationship to relationship. And it was kind of hard for her, but it was one learning to accept that, hey, we're not always moving up in the world. Sometimes we just get saddled with poor relationships. And it was a moment of her really reflecting about who she's meeting, what guy she wants, and what who she wants in her life to kind of correct her pattern.
Yeah, yeah. And you know, sometimes with for like that type of story, make sometimes we tend to always compare our next relationship to something, and you may never find someone like that. There's always a constant comparison. Oh, he's not as generous as this guy. He's not as this that. Unfortunately, with that kind of pattern, you're actually creating the issues because you are, sometimes it's like you can never find someone like your past relationship, good or bad. There's always going to be some difference in it. There's going to be some similarities, but it's going to be different. So I think a lot of people actually destroy or ruin the relationship because they're constantly comparing, and that's why healing is important, so you can actually move on and see every next relationship as something new, and have hope that it's going to be great. Giving your best and see how where it goes, right?
Well, exactly. Like you cannot be comparing your future partner or your current partner with your past partners.
Hmm.
I see that a lot. And I also see again, it's I see the build a partner where they go, well, I like the kindness of this person and I like the money of this person and I like the touchy feeliness of this person and I want it all. It's like, right, but we're dealing with people and we need to understand that people comes with pros and cons and we need to accept the pros with the cons.
Yeah, yeah. I know we talked about taking a time to heal. So what when you're talking about healing, what does that look like, to you after breakup?
So when I see the healing process, it looks like understanding and accepting what happened. And so, how I typically see, for example, my patients when I used to work in nursing go through the grieving process is the grieving process usually they move through all the stages quite quickly. And they go back and forth in the stages, or they might be stuck in a stage for a long period of time before they move to acceptance. How I know that they're moving through the grieving process and they're healing is because the acceptance stage starts getting longer and longer. And then like the anger stage gets shorter and shorter. The bargaining stage gets shorter and shorter to the point that maybe once in a month they're like, yeah, maybe I could go back to them. But then they're immediately like, it wouldn't work. And so I know somebody is healed and they're moving through that healing process when, again, that acceptance stage just grows longer and longer and longer. And the other stages are rather short.
Mm, wow. And yeah, basically, you actually said it properly. You said it very well. And so for some people, it's even going to therapy, so that they can actually help them process that and kind of guide them through that healing process as well. Sometimes it could even be moving out of town and going to spend time with the family, friends, and stuff like that, just to help them grieve, that loss. So it's different for different people, but I would say, if you're struggling with that healing or moving past that breakup, maybe a professional, to like a coach or a therapist can actually help you, you know through that. And yeah, so there's no one way basically, but there are a lot of options and resources online and professionals that can also always help us through that. And one thing I hear, okay, so you say something.
Yeah, I was going to ask your thoughts on therapy around breaking up because I often hear a lot of mental health culture talk about how you got to go to therapy, you got to go to therapy. But when you look at therapy, therapy is actually a rather new thing in human history.
Mm,
Therapy's only been around for a couple of hundred years. Humans have been around for a lot longer than that. So, my question is, what are your thoughts around therapy in the healing process?
mm, uh, I think I've tried therapy. The first time I actually tried therapy was I didn't. It was weird because I just felt like I was just talking, and I was like, okay. I feel therapy is helpful if you are looking for someone to help you process something. Like, not everybody have people that they can talk to in their lives. Like for me, I have my mom and I have my friend that we tend to talk about this type of thing, and we help each other heal. You know, and now it's not everybody have that support system and therapy. They are professionals that are very experienced and stuff like this, and they can help you see things in the way you've not even think. If because sometimes you have friends that will just tell you what you want to hear. Your mom might want to just say things that would help you, get over something quicker. She might not really tell you um the real like thing, like, oh, maybe Adam or Evelyn, you need to really look at your character, stuff like that, and or look at your patterns, because they will tell you, but they may not go depth like a professional would tell you. And so I feel like it's more like, based on my experience, like a person that you basically just tell things to, like your experiences, your pain, your struggle to, and they help you process it, and they help you see from a different light. If it's from your experience, they just help you see the problem, and they can guide you or provide much resources that can help you in that. They won't tell you do this, do that. They will just point you to the right direction that might help you heal. Some people go through therapy and they don't even go anywhere. It's just sometimes, if some see that's a waste of money. But it depends. If you're looking for a safe place, if you're looking for someone to talk to that is really willing to listen and help, or in their, professionally, talk to a therapy. But if you have a good support system, people that tell you the truth, people that have experiences that they can also share with you, then maybe you're good with those support system compared to actually seeking a therapy. That's my opinion.
No, but I love what you say because therapy is not for everybody. It
Yeah.
doesn't work for everybody. And we treat it almost as if like it's the blanket solution. Oh, you had a breakup, go to therapy. It's like you do not need it. Therapy can be helpful. It can help you process kind of what's going on internally. It can help challenge some of your mindset and help you move on. However, if you have a good group of or a good social circle or a good group of people around you they can talk to honestly, that's just as good. I think the biggest concern is when individuals are completely alone in their life,
Mm,
processing this grief, it can get rather dark, which is
mm,
why I always recommend I'm like, if you're processing grief, go find somebody, a
yeah.
friend, a family member, a colleague, maybe that can listen and just help out. And if you don't have that, maybe a coach, maybe a therapist, but it doesn't always have to be therapy.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be therapy. And I've seen a lot of people that when they go into relationship, they kind of just lose themselves into that relationship, in terms of they kind of build their life around the partner. So they do everything together. They don't have their own life. And then when that relationship is gone, it's like they're just empty. So you can, what I would say is to these people is, I can on it's especially when you have a long relationship, a long-term relationship, yes, especially like marriage, for example. But then it's more like rediscovering yourself at this point and building the life that you want. Sometimes you may not even know how it looks like, but when you ask yourself, when you look at videos online, what are the things that makes you happy? Like when you see some things, it makes you excited, and the things that you've always wished to do. So go back and rediscover yourself and build a life that you would be happy 10, 20 years from now, when you look back. So and that's it. Because it's not easy, it's gonna be baby steps. But now I guess to the next question. Is it advisable to go back to your ex, be ex-husband or whatever?
No asterisks on that one. So when we look at exes, there's a reason why the relationship ended. Like, let's be brutally honest. There were things that you were contributing to that relationship that caused it to end, and there were things that they were contributing that would caused it to end. You should only ever be thinking about getting back with an ex if you've understood what you were doing and you were working on yourself. You've done the personal growth. And then on top of that, they would have had to do the personal growth itself. And so typically how I see this usually working out for individuals is they break up. They go off, they rediscover themselves, they live their own unique lives, they build up who they are as individuals, and then down the road, maybe a year, 2 years, maybe 5, 10, doesn't matter. They rediscover each other because they're different people. They've learned their lessons. They've been with different partners. They've become different people, and now they can handle the relationship. But right out the gate, it's like, oh, you broke up and now you're going to get back together within a week? No.
No. Okay, just probably missing them. I know my boss that she said when she separated from her ex, us like not ex anymore anyway, but they were separated for like I think 3 years, and they dated different people, but they went back to each other and they are stronger than ever, whatever. But because they took the time to heal. So, but I would say for me, I don't believe in going back to your exes. I believe that in life, some things end, and for a reason, like you said, and it's always good to look forward and look ahead, and don't limit or yourself or prevent yourself from meeting something great because you keep going back to the past. So I always believe, move forward, move forward. But like I said, it happens for some people that they went back to their exes and it's beautiful and lovely. So it's not like a one solution thing, but it's like, if you're lucky enough, maybe you met your soulmate and that person's your soulmate, but for some reason, maybe you were young and you guys make crazy decisions, and it didn't work out. Yes, maybe you guys need some time to grow, or away from each other, and you guys can go work on each other and come back healthy, and maybe something beautiful could happen. But sometimes it's just good. It could be a great thing that you guys broke up and you guys can now move on and find beautiful relationship later on. And so there's not one. It's not like bad, but you have to, like Adam, you said, look at the growth. The same people, have they grown? What action have they taken in their life, to show that they've actually improved? Do they even, can they even acknowledge what happened in the relationship? Like, okay, this is what happened. This was the role I played. This is what I've learned from that. Blah, blah, blah. Do they see your value now? Those things are questions that you ask.
Well,
Oh,
and I love that idea that ultimately you do have to walk away from it. And the relationships that I see working out, they get back together, they do end.
yes.
Both parties
Yes.
say, we are not going to get back together. This did not work out. And again, it's a rediscovery process later on in life, but you have to learn to let the person go so you can do the personal growth needed to even attempt to rekindle that relationship. But you have to let it go.
I have to, I think I've seen situations where people go back because they are lonely, and it ends terribly. Like it's worse than the first time. So, and you know what? Your growth might not even be the same as you know their growth, and maybe you might see yourself just outgrown them. And so, best option I would say, try to go forward in life. Always go forward in life. And
Always be looking forward. Don't look back.
Always be looking forward. Something I hear a lot is I hear a lot of people I was watching not like a TikTok live today, and the lady talked about, she was kind of advising ladies to um take the time to heal, because she was married at 21, and she said she was a baby then. She was still a baby. She did not have the opportunity to enjoy life. And she got married to this man, and it was a terrible mistake. And now she's divorced with one child and stuff. So the question is, do you think marrying early or dating earlier could is one of the reason why there is higher breakup or divorce rates, or do you know that maturity plays a role in breakup, the timing in terms of when it starts?
I'm gonna feign ignorance on this one and say I honestly have no idea. I haven't really looked at the divorce rates or kind of what's going on there. So I don't I couldn't make a comment about that.
Hmm.
What are you seeing?
I think what I'm seeing is and I would say based on personal experience, I would say for a woman, for example, is looking at getting married, I would recommend 25 and above. I think at that time you're mature, you know what you want, you've explored life alone with your friends, you've traveled, whatever. You know who you are as a woman, and you know what you're looking for. Yeah, so I'll say 25 and above. At that time, you know your values, so you could actually be ready to commit to somebody else's, commit to somebody else and build a life with the person. Now, for guys, I would say I would always recommend for guys 29. You know, because the responsibility of running a home, of being that man figure, it's a lot of responsibility, especially even in society. There's an expectation from men, what they need to do, and all that. So I think it's very important that the man understand what he's going into and be financially, mentally, and emotionally ready to take on that responsibility. And I think that's why it's on the man's job to propose, because at that point, you are now saying, yes, I am ready, not with pressure from anywhere. And now it's the girl's choice to say yes or no. There's a pressure where and that's why it's public proposal at some point, because the guy may be ready and the girl may not be ready, and you're publicly proposing, and the pressure of say yes, and she could just say yes, and maybe internally she knows that she's not ready. So I would say mature age based on experiences. I'll tell you, because a lot of guys say that too. I hear guys who say, I got married to her very young. I didn't know what I was doing. I was 18, and this and that. The responsibility was so much for me, and now it couldn't work. And ladies say the same thing too. So I would say basically the safe age from experience from ladies I hear is 25 and above. For men, I would say 29. That's what I would say.
What's
That's my
interesting? Well,
mm,
it is interesting that you're saying that, because I've often heard from many ladies who marry young. They said, you know what, as young, as dumb, as foolish. And well, I mean, the truth is, when you're young, you're naive. You
yeah.
don't have the wisdom behind you, you don't have the experience behind you that you do when you're a lot older. And when you're older, you understand more about what you want. It's not to say that it won't work out for you. I know plenty of relationships where they married young. There's a couple I remember seeing, and they were high school sweethearts. And they said, at the end of the day, we're just going to choose each other. And we made that commitment, and it's going to work no matter what. And they did. They really, really did make it work. And I was very impressed with them. However, even you look at the data is pretty poignant. You don't marry your high school sweetheart, you break up with them. It's just how it goes. Yeah.
Yeah. Like you said, it's there's if you are, you know, lucky enough to find someone at a younger age to get married to, and you marry, till death do you part, that's beautiful. But what is the percentage of that? Because you guys would tend to commit. That is more like committing to each other, that we're gonna go through this together, we're gonna grow through this. Some people are lucky to find their true love at a younger age, but most of the time, like most of the people that I know, friends, they that end up breaking up or divorce, Divorcing is mainly the blame. The reason is mostly they were young. They were young. They didn't know what they were looking for. Some people say they don't even know what they are looking. They don't even know their values at that point in time, and they don't even know, anything that. I know if I said when she got married, she didn't even know what alignment was in terms of value aligned, and she was 23. And she married long. She married wrong. So she talked about the age factor. I think age is very important. And then it talks about maturity. So what is the age gap to? Maybe you're still growing, the person's way mature, and then the expectation from you is like, but age factor plays a role, not in every situation, but the more likely you are mature, the more likely you are able to experience life alone and discover who you are, and then understand what you're looking for, the better for you in the long run. Not to say mature people don't get divorced, they do, but they are more, they know what they are. The decision is based on the fact that I know what I'm doing, I know what I want, and this is not good for me. Right? It's not out of ignorance, right? Or immaturity. So yeah, so that's what I would say. Like, based on what I've seen, and there's the people that I've spoken to and media. That's one thing I hear a lot. Yeah. So
Well, and to kind of get off or to add a little point onto that one, which is when you're alone, you discover who you are. And sometimes, for example, people build their relationships or their identity around their relationship. And so I knew a woman that said, I am a success and I'm a woman when I'm dating a man who is successful, who makes six figures, who is all this person. And that's how I know I'm a success. And it's
mm,
like, your identity is wrapped up around a relationship. And the question becomes, what happens when you're no longer in a relationship? That's a very dangerous place to be. And that's a very scary place to be because she's more likely to hold on to a relationship that's not working because the minute it ends, who is she?
yeah, and
So if
it's
you can stay with yourself and just build up who you are, your identity, then you're going to have a much more successful relationship.
yeah. Yeah, I do agree with you, because like some people are more about men, or women. Like they don't know how to be by themselves. They don't know who they are. And those are people that tend to jump from one relationship to the other because that's what defines them. And sometimes, like you said, sometimes it's good to just sit alone. That's how you discover yourself. It's not even from jumping from one event to the other or from one night out to the other, because you're just distracting yourself. Sometimes sit with yourself, do journaling, do go for works, do solo trips, all those things that make you reflect and rediscover yourself. And then when you fully know yourself and you fully can be and enjoy your own company and can build a life around your loved ones and all that, you know who you are, you can stand alone, and the man is meant to add, or the woman is meant to add to your life, not take from it, or not so they just bring more to you, not make your life but add to it, and your beautiful life already, and they're bringing their own, and you're adding to their life as well. you know you're not totally empty cup, right? But your cup is full.
Well, I love how you say that because, like, go on that journey. It reminds me, I was working with a young lad and he was going through a breakup and he decided that he was going to go on a spiritual journey. And he came to me for advice and he said, how do I go on this spiritual journey? And I said, you're not going to like it. He goes, try me. I said, okay, if you would like to go on your spiritual journey, I need you to throw your cell phone away, like throw it away. And I would need you to be by yourself. Go for hikes in the mountains. Completely unplug yourself from society. And he's like, I don't like it. Like, I know you don't like it, but this is where you have the introspective thoughts about who you are as a person. When you listen to tales of people discovering who they are and going on a spiritual journey, they're not Googling on their phone how to have a spiritual journey. They're not scrolling through TikTok. They're by themselves. They are completely unplugged. They are just listening to what's going on in here. And it's hard when you first start. It's like when people start meditating, they're like, I can't do this. This is awful. It's like, I know it's awful. But if you want to know who you are, you got to sit with yourself and learn who you are.
Mm. I think I love that actually. I think like when COVID happened and people were forced to be by themselves, people that were single, and it had a lot of toll on a lot of people because they were, it was from having this social life to nothing at all. And I would say the word would say lock, go off all these things for and for lock in for 3 months or whatever months. And so what I would say with that is there's a balance between that, not overdoing it, because you can go into depression and you could harm yourself. It could be terrible because I could see that with COVID, isolation stuff. But I would say it could be from saying going off social media, because social media ruins a lot of people and ruin a lot of relationships. You can say, I'm going to go off Instagram and TikTok and all those social media platforms for 3 months. I'm going to spend more time outdoor or doing all these beautiful physical activities and spending more time with family. It could be you fasting from something that you know that those things added did not add to your life positively. And because not everybody, like for me, I don't think I'm someone that can just lock people out of my life and just be, I would say have moments of quiet, maybe in the evenings, or moments of quiet in your life. Have a day that you just go to an hotel, just you, but there should be a balance between total lockdown. Have the balance and know yourself. Some people are good with this, some people are good with just total lockdown, where they're just by themselves and they lock in and they achieve their goals. Now some people are not good at that. Some people would go into depression and really dark places. So know yourself, and be kind to yourself and show some grace and steady until you find your footing. But yeah.
Yeah, know yourself. Understand that if you need to just talk about this, talk about it. But it's also important to have that alone time.
Yes.
It kind of reminds me of a relationship ages ago. And I learned this lesson because I had to sit with myself very quietly. And what I noticed is after the relationship, after sitting with myself, and I had to then talk with my mother about this, like, Mom, I got to talk about this because I don't know what to do with this information. At the end of the breakup, I had learned a false lesson. So when the relationship ended, I learned the lesson that I was not good enough. I was not good enough, which is why I had to go to the gym to work out, to get good enough. That's why I had to start my own coaching business, to get good enough. I had to do all these things to get good enough. But then the question became is like, well, when is enough? And that's how I learned it was a false belief, because I had to sit by myself and ask myself that internal question: when is it enough? And what I see is when people don't go through the healing process, when they don't sit with themselves and start questioning some of their thought patterns, they fall into the trap of these false beliefs. So I've heard one client say, all men are dogs. Well, that's a false belief, because all men can't be dogs, because one, you keep dating them, and there's been some of them that are actually quite good.
Mm,
So they can't be all that bad. And you work with them, and there are some men that you're friends with, but this is a false belief that she had to spend time analyzing and thinking about.
because when you say all men are dogs, then you see all men as dogs, even when they're kind, good, and all that. And I like the one you said about how you had to now start saying, okay, going to the gym and all these things. Great things. Gym is good for you regardless. you know, Building a business, coaching business and inspiring people based on your even experiences as well. It's a great thing. So there's a positive in it. But and also there are a lot of people, women or men, that have their own mental challenges and issues, that they have a false belief of how a man should be, or how a woman should be. And if you have to live and believe that, you would never be enough for them in the first place. And you would always If you believe that, you would see yourself as not good enough until I'm here, until I'm there, until I'm this. But then you might find someone that will just like you just the way you are, where you are. That would be like, oh, when you say, oh, what do I like about you? Is that thing that that other person hated that they would like. So that's why regardless, if you're doing anything that is towards growth, it's always perfect. But then there are some people that will go pierce themselves and wear earrings, tattoos, and stuff because they're trying to be something that someone else wanted, and so that's a negative way. But I mean that your person will love you regardless, and that doesn't mean that there's no room for growth, but the growth will be worth it, like growth for the person, you
But
know.
that's the real lesson. The real lesson is you weren't right for this person,
Yeah,
but you were right for somebody else. Like, I
exactly.
promise you that. Just because they were a nightmare for you doesn't mean that they're not a dream for somebody else.
Mhm.
It's just how it goes.
That's how it goes. So there's I don't say people are bad. Maybe not, it's not just good for you. And that's how you see life, and it's not about you. Sometimes it's just that sometimes people are going through things in their lives, and that way you're not personalizing everything. You're not blaming yourself for the breakup, like, oh, I'm this ugly, or I'm um an evil person. I cannot keep him, they cannot keep him, man. I don't like to personalize things that are negative. But it's just like sometimes a reflection of them, could be a reflection of their childhood, it could be a reflection of their environment. But it's just that relationship. Learn from it. If there's something that you need to work on, your attitude, the way you communicate, just be truthful to yourself, because if not, you take that into the next relationship and keep repeating that cycle. So be reflective, because sometimes it could be something like some relationship will help you see the areas in your life that you need to work on. Take that, working. And sometimes in relationship you might be the bad person. You see, I saw an interview, and the lady said, they said the question was, why did you why did your relationship ended? And she said, it was her fault because she was not kind, she was mean, she was this. And a lot of comments, positive comment, was from that. People were like, good accountability. It takes a lot of strength for that girl to be authentic enough to look inwardly and say, yes, I was the problem. The person was kind. Sometimes it could be you, but that's okay. It's okay. But as long as you know that it's you, and you've reflected, you've worked on that healing journey, then you can turn that story around and create beautiful relationship.
Well, exactly, because when you look at success and failure go hand in hand. You have to be okay making a mistake. You have to be okay screwing up. But in making those mistakes, you have to learn from them. And that's the key point. If you're not learning from your mistakes, then you're not going to have success. And so that is the thing to always be remembering is, yes, the relationship didn't work out. Yes, there were things that you made mistakes on, that you failed on, but that's okay. This is how we learn. This is how we become better. And this is how we have success in our later dating life. Accept it. Be kind to yourself.
Yeah, because I know a lot of online um, videos I see. Nobody wants to take that responsibility to say, I was the bad one. Not like I won't say bad, but I contributed to why the relationship went in a particular negative direction. Everybody tend to blame the other person all the time, and it takes two to tango. So sometimes be able to accept the facts. I was immature, I was this, I was that, work on it, move on. And yeah. Hmm.
Well, and again, is that mark of maturity to be able to internally look at yourself and say,
Yeah.
I screwed up.
Yeah.
Immature people Immature people say, they're the problem. They screwed up. I did nothing wrong. I'm the golden child. It's like, that's not how the world works. The world's not black and white. It's just different shades of gray. I'm sorry to tell you this.
Mm. Yeah. So It's been an amazing episode, and we've really talked a lot about breakup and the different stages and how to get over it. A lot of interesting things we've actually talked about, and we would really, really love to hear from you. What is your breakup experiences, or how were you able to get over it and move on, and maybe find beautiful love? So, Adam, do you have any last word to leave for
The,
fans?
the big things is to be kind with yourself during a breakup and to give yourself as much time as you need to overcome the feelings that you're feeling. Like, this is an emotional wound that requires healing. And if you're struggling with getting over a breakup or just struggling in a relationship, feel free to reach out to Evelyn or I. Our information's down in the description, and we can help you one on one in just moving to a better place.
Awesome. That was beautifully said. I can't even add to it. So, like, just, look at check the description if you need support, if you need help. We are always here for you. So, thank you guys for joining us again today, and we can't wait to see you again on our next episode. Bye for now.
Take care.